Our favorite game is going in a different direction. Football Manager has entered a new era, a brand new experience announced for the series. The new game will have a brand new match engine and user interface. This marks the end of an era for the current, criticized yet reliable Football Manager experience. To celebrate this dawn of a new era, we'll take a trip down memory lane to the beginning of Football Manager. How did the game evolve throughout its entire 32-year history? What challenges did the match engine face? And why do we need a new one? And why now? Our story begins with two brothers in a small bedroom in Shropshire, England. And in this small bedroom, Paul and Oliver Collier wrote the code for the game. Realizing that they were a small army of two people, they got help from two main sources: Sports Interactive, a game development company, and Eidos, a gaming publisher. In 1992, Paul and Oliver Collier made the first Football Manager game, but the name of the game was not Football Manager at the time. It was called Championship Manager. The first iteration of Championship Manager was BASIC, pun intended. Paul and Oliver used BASIC, the programming language, to actually code the game. There were no real player names until the next game, Championship Manager 1993. At this point, the game had more fans in the UK. The game's programming language was also changed to C, and by 1995, this allowed Championship Manager 2 to have new features. The new game came with updated squads, background images, and live commentary from Clive Tysley.
Nicely into the danger area, and he rifles in the shot. Should have at least made the keeper make the save.
Updates on Championship Manager 2 came out in 1997 and 1998, adding 9 new leagues, new competitions, and tactics. These 9 leagues could run at once like they do in real life. Championship Manager 2 was also Miles Jacobson's first copy of the game. Yes, our sporting director and longtime Football Manager lead Miles Jacobson is a fan of the game as well. He played the game for a while and at some point joined the development company and is now the lead for Football Manager. The 1998 version saw the emergence of Football Manager mods. These are fan-made game databases, backgrounds, and graphics to actually make the game look a bit more interesting. The game itself got an upgrade, expanding to additional 5 leagues and adding colored player attributes. Championship Manager 3 came with the MLS, and by the year 2000, the game had hit 200,000 sales in the UK. Just 3 years later after that, Sports Interactive split with its gaming publishers Eidos. However, they kept the rights to the game's source code and both parties went their separate ways. The Championship Manager series didn't die, not immediately anyway. Eidos went on to make more iterations of Championship Manager, but they no longer had the source code or any reliable developer. But our story today is not about Championship Manager, it's about Football Manager. But I felt it's crucial to know where everything all started from. The first version of Football Manager came 2 years after the split with Eidos. Football Manager 2005. This game was developed in partnership with Sega, one of the biggest game developers at the time. The user interface looked similar to Championship Manager, but FM 2005 had updated post-match interactions. It also had the first 2D match engine, and the Job Center also appeared for staff. And this game was the 5th best-selling PC game of the year. The game releases followed a similar format as Championship Manager, where Football Manager 2006 was more like Football Manager 2005 with a few patch updates. These updates reflected the changes in the transfer window, and in April 2006 we see Football Manager's first console version on the Xbox 360. Football Manager 2007 got a new improved scouting system as well as player interactions. We could also loan players to affiliate clubs now in the lower leagues, or as a lower league club you could get players in on loan with a bit of money too. Some cool features too, like arranging friendlies between teams and getting a bit of money from that, also came in Football Manager 2007. The following year we got skins and we got regen faces. So now players generated by the game could have a 3D face. The board and fans also got serious in Football Manager 2008, and the transfer center became a thing in this game as well. You could now track who goes where during the transfer window. And we could also see an improved 2D match engine with a new finance system implemented into the game. In Football Manager 2009, we see the emergence of the first 3D match engine, the first in the game's entire history. It was also the first game to allow female managers. And you won't believe this, Arsenal were a licensed team in FM 2009. The Arsenal. They had the player faces, kits and everything. The transfer system in this game also got a bit more realistic, but in Football Manager 2010, the game had reached astronomical heights, getting number 1 on the PC gaming charts in 2010. Football Manager 2010 also went on to have a handheld version for the PSP, which is the PlayStation Portable. The game itself had an improved match analysis tool, making the 3D match experience a bit more immersive. You could also give touchline shouts during the game, but they were more like team instructions, not really words of encouragement. In Football Manager 2011, we see an improved training system and a new in-depth method for player search. The graphics in the 3D match engine also had a huge boost, with new weather conditions and nighttime matches. Player agents also joined in the background, making transfers more sophisticated. But we were not ready for what was coming in Football Manager 2012. FM 2012 might be one of the best retro Football Manager games of all time. It deserves a video on its own as it carries a lot of memories in Football Manager history, and Sports Interactive only made slight tweaks from Football Manager 2011 for FM 2012, adding extra details to the scout reports. With player interactions and press conferences now having tones, you could now choose to be calm or assertive or aggressive. This is also the game where we had the match engine exploiter tactic, a narrow 4-3-3 that broke the game, scoring a lot of goals, and a lot of those goals came from corners. We also had better filters and better menu and better user interface. The 3D match engine also looked really great in 2012. Altogether, this made the game a bit more immersive and engaging. Football Manager 2013 saw the introduction of the Director of Football, the famous staff in our team who helps us out with transfers and player recruitment. It also had a classic mode where you could play through the game without worrying about player interactions or media or training and all those other stuff. This was the best place to actually test out tactics to see if they were effective for the game. FM 2013 also had ball physics, pitch wear and stadium wear. The new ball physics meant that the match conditions affected the movement of the ball. Players struggled to play short passes in wet pitches, and long balls didn't perform so well in windy conditions. This brought fresh realism to the 3D match engine. In 2014, this is where Football Manager started to get personal for me. Football Manager 2014 was my first game in the series, and it was that year that sporting director Miles Jacobson announced new features every day on his Twitter account. FM 2014 was tough for me because I was new to Football Manager. From the beginning, I always loved the idea of taking a small club to glory, or restoring the glory of a fallen giant. So I made the huge mistake of managing Leeds United, and that didn't go so well. I also had a brief spell in non-league football with Kidderminster Harriers, and this was also disappointing. But I stuck at it, and in 2015, Football Manager got better for me. FM 2015 had a revamped user interface that came with the sidebar. It didn't make much sense to me at the time, but looking back now, this small tweak was the biggest leap in my Football Manager experience. Having all the menus on the left sidebar just made Football Manager a bit more easier to navigate through. FM 2015 also redesigned the tactics screen, making player roles easier to adjust. The graphical representation of the formations with the player shirts and the number made everything easier for me to create tactics. I still lost games, don't get me wrong, but this time I could see things more clearly. The match engine was one of the best I've seen in the series, and yes, even better than some of the newer versions of Football Manager. With the quality, lighting, textures and pitchwear, the game's 3D match engine had a bit more depth. Tactically, the game was still exciting. There was a short corner routine that used to get more goals in the game, and I remember using it to get Exeter City from League 2 to the Premier League, and then we won the Champions League. That was one of my longest ever Football Manager saves at the time, but it was not my most impossible achievement. In Football Manager 2016, Sports Interactive introduced stamina bars above players' heads. They also revamped the team instructions screen to give better context, so long balls got those lines that curve upwards, and any contrasting tactical option selected, the other will be contrasted in red. The game was getting easier to understand, but not easier to play. Football Manager still retained that element of challenge, and it made the game a bit more immersive. I remember I won the Champions League with AC Milan, but my lower league achievement with Margate was the impossible achievement. I took them from non-league football to the Champions League final. The tactic I used to achieve this is still in a vault somewhere. I make adjustments to it once a year for every Football Manager game. The next game in the series is one of my personal favorites, but it has its ups and downs. Football Manager 2017 kept the tactic screen and sidebar style user interface. The match engine, however, got a complete overhaul. and for the first time we see pre-game entrance scenes in the game. The pitch textures on FM 2017 looked like the best I've ever seen in the game, with more rich greener color. This lasted for a while during the game, but you could obviously see the pitch get muddy as the game continued to wear on. FM 2017 is also the first game that allowed us to create a club. I enjoyed this feature a little too much because it's one of my longest ever saves in Football Manager history. The following year, I had mixed feelings about Football Manager. Football Manager 2018 brought us new player roles like the Metala, Carrilero and Segundo Volante, but the tactics screen looked a bit different and it was difficult to adjust tactics in-game. The user interface for tactics felt complicated to me, but the user interface for the game was really the same as FM 2017. That tactics screen made the game underwhelming, and on the pitch, the stadium lighting, I noticed it got better. But the realistic pitch textures from previous Football Manager games was all but a distant memory. Thankfully, the tactics screen got a complete overhaul in Football Manager 2019, but the stadium lighting system didn't feel as vibrant as the previous year, making the 3D match engine look dull. FM19 made up for it with spectacular goals and fantastic in-game memories. I remember creating a club in this game where I added myself as one of the players in the game. My player went on to leave the club for a top European club. Talk about losing yourself to a top European club in Football Manager. We also see VAR for the first time in FM19, as this was the first game after the FIFA World Cup 2018. The game also features fully licensed leagues like the Bundesliga and the Dutch Eredivisie. The Football Manager match engine did get a facelift in Football Manager 2020. Arguably one of the better games in the series, FM20 had a match engine worth looking at. But the pitch textures still lacked the depth and wear that FM17 and other previous versions of the game used to have. FM20 expanded to 53 playable leagues, with 26 of those leagues fully licensed, except a Zebra team from the Italian Serie A. Forgive me for not mentioning it earlier, at this point Football Manager was a global game. Everyone saw Football Manager as the ideal realistic football simulator. In 2021, the game added a new experience to player and manager interactions. We now got a new matchday experience where you could attend press conferences like never seen before in the game. We also got gestures like handshakes and throwing the water bottle, and of course the in-dressing room conversations. The dreadful conversation in the dressing room where we're all scared of having. And for the first time we see expected goals, which is XG, and expected assists, which is XA. These became statistics in the game. A new lighting system gave the match engine a boost from 2021 to 2023, but in other areas the match engine didn't change that much. In Football Manager 2022, we see the value of statistics. Data Hub comes fully into the game, adding extra depth to team and player analysis. We also see the addition of new roles like the wide centre-back. This role made reference to Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea that won the UEFA Champions League. I would also like to mention that FM22 and FM23 are the games I created the most content for this YouTube channel. It's been an amazing journey so far, and I appreciate all the love and support from you guys watching my videos. Football Manager 2023 saw the addition of licensed UEFA competitions. We got the Champions League and the UEFA Europa League, as well as the Super Cup, and this added an extra layer of realism to the managerial experience. The match engine felt the same as FM 2022, only with minor tweaks added to it. We see a huge upgrade in the match engine on Football Manager 2024. Now there are new and updated player animations. The game also added realistic ball movement with the new ball physics system. FM24 also revamped the tactical behavior of the players, introducing positional play. This allowed the players to make intelligent runs and better adjustments to their positions on the pitch. One of the exciting features in FM24. But another exciting feature in FM24 actually came from FM 2023. For the first time in the entire 32-year history of Football Manager, it is possible to continue your save game in the next year's game, a feature that most Football Manager players had cried out for a very long time. But it did come with an additional twist. Your manager from the previous game will have less details or probably an incorrect age, and the club kits from the previous save will also carry on into Football Manager 2024. That means you have to continue your save without the updated kit for your current club that you're managing. You also won't be able to unlock achievements in the new game regardless of how many trophies you win or how many players you sign. Hopefully in Football Manager 2025, Sports Interactive could go ahead and fix this. If they don't, I'll understand. so that way you can actually get to start a save in the new game. So why do we need a new Football Manager match engine and user interface? Well, the current match engine is effective, but it has one glaring problem. It's predictable. From my experience of playing Football Manager and reviewing thousands of gameplay footage, I realized that the match engine favors a high pressing style of play. That's not to say that other tactical styles don't work. It's an issue of pressing being more of the long-term solution. In real football, pressing systems do work, but they're not the ultimate footballing philosophy. Teams like Real Madrid and Inter Milan in recent years have managed to achieve success without playing high-pressing football. Gasperini's Atalanta are another good example. The current match engine tends to favor players that are fast and have high physical attributes, making managers abandon other tactical systems. And you'll notice I didn't talk about the graphics. That's because to me, a game as sophisticated as Football Manager doesn't need to have the best graphics to be immersive. For me, it's all about the journey and the memories that we make along the way. So what about the user interface? Is it broken? No. The current Football Manager user interface is better than the one we had in FM 2014 and before, but it also has one problem. It's scary to look at. Every screen looks like an Excel sheet on dark mode, and it can scare a lot of new gamers. Imagine playing Football Manager for the first time. I remember one of my friends, when I showed him Football Manager or he saw me playing Football Manager, that was initially what he thought, that the game looked complicated and you probably won't be able to spend that much time playing it. The user interface is enough to make you assume that the game is difficult and boring. For us who play Football Manager every day, we're not intimidated by the screen. The thing that scares us the most is the bad run of games that come in January after the transfer window closes. So that is where we are now. We want to have a Football Manager that is welcoming for new gamers, one that is unpredictable and also allows us to create history with any club we choose. And when I mean unpredictable in a realistic way, not in a way that makes the game inconsistent and confusing. So let me know, what is your favorite Football Manager game in the series? And what would you like to see in Football Manager 2025? Share it with us in the comment section. You can subscribe to the channel for more Football Manager content like this. We're all preparing for Football Manager 2025. So I'll see you there or in the next video. Bye bye.